The Hawaii Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Ku'ule Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht, and this is the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. You guys can text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481, or it is Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and we are streaming live right now on our YouTube channel. So hello to everybody for tuning in and always supporting our YouTube live stream. Be sure you guys like and subscribe, and feel free, as you guys always do so well, is chime in on the YouTube live chat. So that makes it a lot easier to get in on the conversation instead of having to text us. So we got a lot to get into today, a lot of good amount of wins to recap, but also a surprising loss to recap as well, and that was with the University of Hawai'i women's basketball team losing at UC Davis, coming off of two back-to-back losses, which feels like icky to say because it's so... We don't say that when it comes to the UH women's team, but we're going to have to talk about it. Also hear Coach Beeman's initial thoughts. We got some men's volleyball that we'll get into in just a second that you guys hear from head coach Charlie Wade. Men's basketball senior night had a great win. It looked good against Riverside. Ultimately couldn't close it out, but turned around and beat a very quality UC Davis squad. And here you go. I mean, are we finally seeing the turnaround that we've kind of been saying? That positive Paul was still trying to hold on to hope that this turnaround was going to happen for this men's team. Hopefully it's not a little too late, but that win on Saturday is huge because it would have looked more daunting in terms of missing the postseason tournament had Hawaii lost on Saturday. Now the hopes are still very much alive, and also what positive Paul said over the weekend that should Hawaii be able to somehow close out the next couple of games, especially against Bakersfield, and other games not going accordingly, Hawaii could go as high as the 6th seed. What?
Yeah, all this doom and gloom, and all of a sudden, there's plenty to talk about with the men's basketball team, but that's what happens when you actually win some basketball games, when you play to your potential, and there's some positive vibes that I can throw back with the people. It's funny, with the Rainbow Wahine, they're probably the one team I expected to not lose this weekend, and that's including the men's volleyball team.
Exactly.
Who, I mean, you want to talk about the performance they had. Woo! But yeah, and I got a little more positivity today on this Monday. We're starting March off on the right foot. That's exactly how we wanted to go.
Of course, and we're going to keep rocking and rolling. Michael Iscaro will actually join us in studio in hour number 2. I know you guys always love and miss seeing him in the show. He has to make the further drive than Paul and I do, so we'll forgive him for joining us in the second hour. But we also have a packed day today as well throughout the afternoon, bringing you some HPU Sharks softball today and tomorrow versus Azusa Pacific. Today's game time is at 1 o'clock p.m., and you can listen to it right here and on hawaiisportsradio.com with Kyle Galdera and Paul Brecht on the call. So we got a lot of stuff going on today. So when Michael joins us, he will actually get us some of his UH football practice takeaways that he's been able to kind of go down there for a few practices and what he has seen so far. I know we've shared some of his notes with you guys, but I always like it better when our football guy is able to actually share from his mouth on what he's seen, especially as this is the final week of the spring football practice. And Sunday, March 9th, this Sunday, is the spring festivities for football at 4 o'clock p.m. at the Clarence T. Seaching Athletics Complex. We'll have senior night on Saturday for the Rainbow Wahine basketball team and be back on campus on Sunday for UH football. And I can't believe it's weird because Hawaii still has like the earlier football spring compared to other schools, because the other schools are kind of just starting up their spring practice and Hawaii is ending just like we saw last year. So we'll talk some UH football coming up in hour number 2, and maybe even a sprinkle of NFL. There were some couple of key moves that were made. The NFL Combine also was happening, and a lot of rumors, and including one I didn't even know about with the Jets potentially like moving up to take Ward.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
But we will get to that. So we got some NFL news as well. All right. First things first, though, as Paul said, probably the one team we didn't expect to lose at all on the weekend, the Rainbow Wahine basketball team, falling to UC Davis. But on the flip side, one team that, I mean, at the very least, we expected them to lose a set on Friday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do. Obviously, we knew the talent was there, but they haven't played their best volleyball. My goodness, this Rainbow Rainbow Warriors volleyball team. Oh my gosh! Like, we witnessed their best let me go back. Friday, we thought, we're like, wow, that was like the best men's volleyball team or that we've saw of this team this season. Oh my gosh! Like, is it a fluke? Can you do the same thing on Sunday? And then they did an even better time on Sunday. It was like, what just happened? Again, we're always going to believe that this team, because we see the talent, is like they had a chance to beat UC Irvine. But I did not expect not one, but even two sweeps. Because again, after Friday, I'm like, you know what? Okay, Hoya's great, but UC Irvine, they're very well coached. They're going to make adjustments. They're going to come back.
Travel. They're coming off 2 tough losses against UCLA.
They're going to be hungry.
Yeah, you can make an excuse for Friday night. Like, you look at Friday night and you're like, okay, like, Hawaii, they're a great team. They play to their potential. UC Irvine, they have the defending National Player of the Year.
Exactly.
And like you said, I mean, for UC Irvine to not take a set this past weekend was shocking to me. I think that's the only word that I can use, because I went in and you can ask my wife, you can ask literally anybody who I watched this game with. I made the joke multiple times. I'm like, there's no way, right? On both nights that a sweep was inbound, that Irvine, they'll take one just for pride. And by the second night, by that third set, I think you could kind of see that Irvine was ready to pack it in and escape the islands and say, we'll just see you in the Big West tournament, friends. Because, like you said, what a performance by the Rainbow Warriors this past weekend. And Charlie Wade, to his credit, he said some things like this, that this might be the unit we'll see, just might have taken some time.
Exactly, and it's something he's been telling us, and you'll hear him in just a second. It's something he's been telling us, and we've been telling you guys about, like, oh, this young class, they're like legit, they're so good, yada yada yada. The way that last year ended and losing a lot of veterans and significant players. The only one that wasn't worried was Charlie Wade himself, because he kept telling us that they have a lot of key players coming in, and now we are. I mean, as if we didn't already see it up to this point. We are starting to definitely see it now. But here is what head coach Charlie Wade had to say after that match last night.
It kind of confirms what we've been saying all along, that not only can we be really good, we could be the best team at the end. We got the pieces, and we've shown that we can play at an extremely high level. And now it's, we've kind of raised the bar a little bit. I thought serving was really good. My new favorite acronym is GTL, which means good turns late, because we had really good service turns from just about everybody late in the set, where we're really putting pressure on them. Third set, we got a little sloppy. We got up to a big lead, and I think Louis tried to thread the sideline a little bit. So the overall percentage at the end was just okay. Right, 7 aces, 12 errors, which we were a lot better than that for most of the night, and that was really good to see. They were serving amazing. Yeah. They had 6 aces and 4 errors after 2 sets, and then they made 4 kind of early in the first, or in the third rather. So, I think we got the pieces, and I think if we can just keep improving. I said from the beginning of the year, I think this team is going to improve all the way through this year and going on into even the next, because there's just so many new pieces and we're still kind of figuring things out, and so it's exciting. That was a really good team, and we played at a pretty high level.
You guys maybe put some highlight plays together and the crowd jumped up a level. Could you sense that, or?
Yeah, look, it's the first thing I said in the stand-up on Spectrum was, like, how about this crowd for a Sunday night, a Sunday afternoon, these guys coming out. We've been incredibly grateful and humbled by the support we get. But like tonight, like you said, and Friday night was some of this too. You walk in here and you can feel it's a little different vibe to it, kind of playoff atmosphere, and these guys feed off it. You know, it's always nice to play at home, but when you get this kind of crowd in here and they're into it, you know, these are young, emotional guys, and it's awesome. And I can't say enough on how appreciative I am that the amount of support that we're getting from the community right now. You know, we work to put a good product out there and put a good show on every night, and really appreciate everybody coming out and enjoying the show.
Coach, could you talk a little bit about Aleu's performance tonight? You talked about how effective UC Irvine still was at the service line, and still his defense just other levels, it seems like at times.
Yeah, he, it's really nice to see him kind of settling in and being the high-level player that we know that he can be. Some of that comes with some confidence. You know, he's logged a lot of hours. He's worked really hard, and he took some hot shots tonight for sure. That balls that usually should be down. That he controlled, and we got good swings at one. So again, I'm such a Aleu fan that I know how hard he's worked. I know he can be really good, and it's nice to see that paying off in game against a high-ranked opponent.
Coach, I think among the 9 guys who played today, it was like 1 senior, 1 junior, 2 sophomores, and the rest were freshmen. How scary do you think that is for the rest of the?
Well, it's kind of been that way every night. Yeah, like we got more freshmen, we can throw more out there. But no, it's like you said. I've said, what's happening with us recruiting and just kind of where the roster's at. I think we are still in an ascendant phase. We've been really good for a long time. You look at the group we have, like we're going to continue to get better. We still are locking down top level recruits. We are, without question, a very desirable location for the grad transfers. I've had a few reach out that are from big time programs or big time players, and I think you'll see us sprinkle some of those guys in. So it's a fun time to be the coach of this team, and I think it's a pretty fun time to be a fan and watch what's going on too.
Darn right, it's a fun time to be a fan. That was UH men's volleyball head coach Charlie Wade, and I mean, you guys were out there. I think last night was 7,000. I think, oh my gosh, 7,000 in attendance on a Sunday. Friday was pretty close to that, but I think Sunday had a little bit more. It was just the atmosphere. Friday they made reference to it, and you could have saw it on our Instagram that it's like everyone around the world is talking about UH men's volleyball, what's happening in the Stan Sheriff Center, and even Tread mentioned there was some fan, a guy from New York that came all the way this way.
No, it wasn't me. That's not me.
A guy all the way from New York that came up to him and said, "Hey, I came all the way from New York just to see you guys play." So that's incredible. It's a different atmosphere. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about men's volleyball, and then we'll shift gears into women's basketball and some of the takeaways from that, and let you hear what head coach Laura Beeman had to say following that quite disappointing loss on Saturday. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Caesar commented.
Thank you,
I just
Caesar.
wanted to make sure.
Aw.
Anyway, yeah, no, I think that was the most impressive part of the weekend for me, where the blocking, the Manoa Roofing Co., right? It finally makes its appearance back into the levels that we knew that it could get to. It was truly, truly impressive. And, Kurt Neusterer, he was somebody who was feeling a little under the weather on Friday night. Charlie Wade told us, and certainly didn't look that way on Sunday. Louis Sakanoko getting in on some blocks. You had Adrian Rohr, who has kind of slowed down on the attack, but everything else he's doing exceptionally well, continuing defensively, digging up anything and everything that he can. He's had a few blocks and a couple of service aces, so he's continued to be phenomenal. This freshman class really, really is impressive in every way, and we would be remiss, and I mentioned him in the post-game avail, so you did hear his name. We would be remiss to not mention Alehu Choi, because I mean, that kid, I can't call him a kid. He's like an 8th-year senior. That's not true. But he is flying all over the floor. He's, Hawaiian Superman out there going. The defense that he plays for the Rainbow Warriors allows them, and I tweeted this, it allows them to play the way that they do a lot of times. It allows them to play at the level that they do. And in a team full of stars, Alehu Choi kind of gets lost in the mix sometimes, and he really, really shouldn't. Because last night, and Charlie said it, it's not like Irvine played poorly. It's not like they were serving it into the net every single time. It's not like Hilaire Heno was just hitting the ball at 800 feet out of the field of play, right? It's Hawaii played outstanding last night. Their defense was great. And it would be wrong just not to mention Alehu Choi's name, because he was outstanding once again, and it just continues to be outstanding for the Rainbow Warriors.
I'm so glad you mentioned Alehu 100%, because it was so funny, because there was this one dig last night, right, where it was a pancake dig, and then it did look like he got it, and then it got challenged, and then they took it away. But it's still, because he's just
tweeted
playing,
about that one.
He was playing so phenomenal that you're like, oh yeah, he totally got it. You kind of just naturally, and I think even the officials were like, yeah, he probably got it because he's been getting everything else.
When you play that well, you get the benefit of the doubt.
And then you have to go back and okay, he didn't really get that. But Alehu Choi, I mean, not only the fact that he can dig some of those, but even when it's like just the harder either kills or serves to handle, like he helps keep the team in system. I think that's so major, so that the offense can run, so that Tread Rosenthal can get a good set going, right? Because a lot of it is remaining in system in order to set up your attack. And yeah, for Hawaii to have that good of a defense. I mean, there was that one also with Louis Sakanoko, like Alehu had a nice dig, and then Louis even dove for it to keep it alive, and I think it was Tread that like punched it over the net, and then Hawaii, I believe, ended up blocking UC Irvine to get that point. But all that stuff, like just the defense and everything that's coming together, and now with the attack just being as clean as we can hope that it'll be, it's been incredible, and I hope you guys will get out there someday. They do play Lindenwood this week. I know it's like kind of when you go from UC Irvine, but you got to play the games, right? Like, and then you have the Outrigger Invitational, and you're like, maybe
it is a little funny.
They schedule it in the middle of the week for a reason. And they're like, but you never know. Again,
this is where Clay Weeder came from, so a nice little opportunity right there. Perhaps we'll see Clay, who opened the year up as a starter and now has found himself in a little more of a reserve role. Perhaps we'll see him give a full scouting report, right, on Lindenwood going into it. But yeah, it's certainly a different group of teams or group of players, I guess, comparatively to Irvine, like we mentioned, defending National Player of the Year, and then Charlie continued to say it. They have two guys who will compete for it this year, and then you go into the Outrigger, which, I mean, every single year is basically like a mid-season national tournament. So you got to be ready to go, and a good way to do that is to continue the way that you're playing and do it against Lindenwood.
All right, so they're going to play Lindenwood this Wednesday and Friday. Both matches at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Simplify Arena at Stan Sheriff Center. And then the big ones coming up next week, Thursday in the Outrigger Invitational, where Hawaii will host Ball State, Penn State, and USC. This week, though, if you guys haven't been out there and maybe want to just check them out, Serve and Save Wednesdays. Want to make sure we remember that. So all Wednesday matches throughout this season, you can snag tickets starting at just $5 for select upper level seats. Sodexo is serving a $5 food and beverage menu as well on the concourse in Gate B. So it's your chance. Middle of the week, you can head out there and go there for relatively cheap and support and see this men's volleyball team. And then Friday, this is pretty cool. It's Wahine Day. So celebrating International Women's Day this Friday, which is on March 8th. But Friday at the game, they'll be celebrating International Women's Day, which I didn't even know that. So, hey, International Women's Day on Wahine Day this Friday. All right. Speaking of Wahine, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we will talk some UH women's basketball. A disappointing loss at UC Davis. We know they lost last week, Thursday, but it seemed that, all right, well, there was just some minor mistakes, and it was cool. They'll bounce back. UC Davis, you'll hear a little snippet of what Coach Beeman had to say following that game. And she very much, along with the team, believed that this team could have and should have won on Saturday. So hence why I'm kind of mentioning it being a disappointing loss, because you'll be able to tell with Coach Beeman. But we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Ku'ule Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel today and every single Monday. So go over there, search for Hawaii Sports Radio Network, click on the blue logo. Wink, wink, and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we have other stuff on YouTube that we put up there as well, including some of our interviews. Tomorrow, I want to make sure we kind of plug this. I feel like tomorrow we'll spend a lot of time in more of a sports business conversation. I know we haven't really mentioned it yet. Brian McInnes of Spectrum Local News put out the most recent update of the stadium project. So I want to kind of touch on that and get you the details of all of that stuff on tomorrow's show. And then, more importantly, or the cooler thing we're going to talk about is Paul and I had a chance to chat with the CEO of Student Athlete NIL. It's the operator behind the Rainbow Collective, which is one of the local collectives here in Hawaii that helps out a lot of the student athletes here, and where a lot of fans can just, do like a subscription thing if they want to go and support some of their favorite student athletes for any of the sports. So we got a chance to chat with him. His name is Chris Brown. I had to make sure I said the details of like what he was and then say his name.
You gotta.
So people were like, Chris
specify
Brown.
a little bit.
So yes, his name is Chris Brown. So we got another Chris Brown that we know. So we chatted for almost 40 minutes, I think. It
was a long time.
And yeah, so you'll hear our conversation with him as he kind of explains a little bit more about the background that is Student Athlete NIL and the Rainbow Collective, and also the new merger that they have with a what used to be a competitor in Blueprint Sports Acquisition that also did NIL, but more so specialized in the P4 space, and then Student Athlete NIL were part of the mid-major space or the G5 space. So now those two companies have merged, and Chris Brown is the Chief Operating Officer of Blueprint. So it's a fun chat, extensive, and yeah, tune in tomorrow where we'll chat a lot of sports business stuff for our Tuesday show. But we're going to keep rolling with our UH conversation as Michael Lescaro is set to join us in hour number 2. We'll get into football, but we are sticking with basketball for now. Hawaii losing on Saturday. Now they are on back-to-back losses, which is so weird to say when it comes to this Rainbow Wahine squad. But Hawaii losing at UC Davis 74-66 in a game that was pretty close. The final score is not indicative of how back and forth and how close this game was down the stretch. But nonetheless, Hawaii 16 turnovers in that game, and uncharacteristically, 6 of those turnovers were from the bigs in Imani Perez and Brooklyn Brewers with 3 turnovers apiece, and then not being able to stop one of their players. They had Tova Sable scored 14 points in just that third quarter or the fourth quarter alone, and 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Hey, make those free throws, kids. And 2 monster threes, though, of course, as well. So Hawaii just let her get too loose. I know Coach Beeman wasn't happy with that, of losing a shooter in just the space and giving her those open shots. So we will continue this conversation, but just real quick, here is a little snippet of what head coach Laura Beeman had to say and her initial thoughts on that game.
That's championship basketball. And right now we haven't figured out what we need to do to win a championship. So if we keep turning the ball over like we are, we're going to keep losing, and our tournament run is going to be real short. You can get caught up in the senior night and the matchup and all of that. Bottom line, that was a game we should have won. This one does not feel good. We need to stop turning the ball over.
And that was head coach Laura Beeman, what her initial thoughts on that game. And she's 100% right. And like we were kind of telling you, this was a game that they very much should have won, like she said. And that's why it just stings a little bit more, right? Her demeanor was a little different following Thursday's loss. And she 100% believed they're going to learn from it. They're going to turn it around and come out with a win against UC Davis. But very much still a disappointing game. I'll now turn it over to you, Paul, because I only got a chance to watch snippets. I was setting up for our broadcast out at Hans Larange, but I know you were able to watch a good portion of that game. So what were your takeaways, and what was it about the bigs and turning over the basketball? I do want to mention the bright side, though, before I kick it to you, with Jovi Leifotu being able to put up 15 points off the bench to lead the Rainbow Wahine, and she was someone that herself was struggling with some turnovers, but only kept it to 2. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned and gave her flowers, because I know she's had kind of a rough stretch so far, but able to be significant in this game. But just some of your thoughts on what you watched on Saturday.
Yeah, uncharacteristic is a good way to put this game, I think, in a lot of ways. It's second half. Let's just put it like this, right? Halftime, Hawaii was dominating is strong, but Hawaii was in control of this game. And at third quarter, they kind of just came out slow, and it didn't really pick up at all. And you see when you look at the actual score, 22-12, I mean, we've seen bad quarters from the Rainbow Wahine before, right? But we don't see two bad quarters, and we don't see two bad quarters in a row typically, especially to close out the game. Fourth quarters are typically winning time, right? That's Rainbow Wahine time, 7, 8, 9 Bow Warrior time type thing.
Yeah.
And in this one, Hawaii just fell apart in the second half. You talk about turnovers once again. You double up UC Davis on turnovers, 16-8 in that category, and that just, we've kind of hammered the men about it, but the women, because they have been winning, we have not necessarily gone as hard on it. But you hear the frustration from Laura Beeman. Just because we have not necessarily gone hard on the turnovers doesn't mean that I don't think they have. This has been an issue for the past couple of weeks, and I will say, as much as we do sing the praises of the Rainbow Wahine, it does concern me how different they have looked on the road. How they haven't been able to figure it out to play their best basketball on the road, whether that's against a high-quality team like a UC Davis who has experience winning the Big West tournament, has experience winning the regular season championship. That's a program that's got it figured out in a lot of ways, right? It is a little bit concerning to go there and then fall apart in the second half. Yes, senior day. Yes, all of these things. Yes, the emotions. But you heard it. Coach Beeman isn't interested in making excuses for this team. This team isn't interested in making excuses for themselves. I'll say this as well. Meilani McBee was phenomenal through the first half and then just kind of stopped looking for her shot as much. Maybe I'd have to go back and watch. Perhaps UC Davis really did clamp down defensively on her, but I thought she was awesome through the first half looking for her shot. And I've kind of hammered this point home over the past couple of weeks, especially during home games for the Rainbow Wahine. When Meilani McBee is extra aggressive, when she's looking for her shot, she's a hell of a shooter. She's going to break the record this weekend, barring her going 0 right, from long range. She didn't really do anything in the second half. Liliuahine Kapu, are we going to see another 4 of 17 performance from her this season? Like, that's one of those things where it's like, I almost never expect to see that. She missed her first 9 shots, 10 shots, and then obviously she closed out the game a little bit better, second half a little bit better, but by that point, UC Davis had started to figure things out. They're too talented of a team to leave the back door open, and the Rainbow Wahine did that. They allowed them back into the game in the third quarter. They allowed UC Davis to kind of take control in that third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, they're playing on their back heels the entire time, and just a really uncharacteristic performance from the Rainbow Wahine in this one, where they got out-competed by a team who also is looking for another Big West championship crown. So we've talked a lot of praise for the Rainbow Wahine, deservingly so. This was a frustrating road trip for them. I know that. They have an opportunity to come back home and right the ship, right the wrongs before they go back off to Henderson, back off to complete what they all set out to do into this season, what a lot of people expect them to do into this season. And if they want to do that, like Coach Beeman said, they got to figure out how to play championship basketball. That's not turning the ball over 16 times on the road.
Yeah, the weird thing, too, when I looked at the breakdown of the box score, they turned it over 7 times in the first half and then 9 times in the second half, where normally you kind of settle down during the halftime and you come back out, you have your halftime talk and everything, and things go a little bit smoother. So it was weird to see that they had more turnovers in the second half, especially such a veteran team, such a good core that they have playing with. Like, a lot of the players, they pretty much have all of this experience in the world. So that was odd, and I think that's the best way to describe this game, is just so uncharacteristic. But right now, they're still in charge of their own destiny when it comes to finishing off the Big West Conference season, getting the championship for the regular season, because they are still ahead at the top of UC Irvine in the top of the standings. Hawaii 14-14 4 in the Big West, and UC Irvine 13-5, with Hawaii just having winnable games against Cal State University Bakersfield and then against CSUN. Those are games, again, they should win, and it
with
is at
as
home.
much respect as possible.
As much.
There is no chance they should lose these games.
Exactly.
If they play Rainbow Wahine basketball.
And which is usually what we're accustomed to, especially at home, especially Saturday being senior night against CSUN. Because when you also look at UC Irvine's schedule, they have actually pretty difficult opponents. They have to play UC Davis next and then UC Santa Barbara. So both kind of games that could be toss-ups in terms of the competition. So Hawaii, that's why I say they're in charge of their destiny now. If they win out, which on paper they should, but we said that all last week and it didn't happen on the road. But that's why 100% they control their destiny, because should they win, they will be the Big West Conference regular season champs because they are still holding that lead at the top. Let's see, what does Scott say? Scott chiming in as he does so well. I know he's a big time women's basketball fan. Not to be overconfident, but they have the bottom 2 team exactly this week. They should get the 1 seed. The conference is bunched up, so any team can win in any given point, 100%. When it gets to tournament time,
yes,
that's going to happen. We want the Rainbow Wahine at least to close out this season, these seniors to close out this season, hoisting at first the regular season trophy, and they're controlling their own destiny because, as you know too, Scott, it's like they should win these games. Like,
yes.
Things are going to have to go massively wrong, and we've seen it happen before. We saw Saturday was not a good game for the Rainbow Wahine, but they should win these games.
Yes, to Scott's second point, I think this past week was a great reminder for the Rainbow Wahine that, to your point, top of the conference is especially bunched up. There are a lot of quality opponents in this conference who are going to take aim at you over these next couple of weeks. You got a taste of that a little bit early, and luckily, it doesn't end your season this time, so you have an opportunity to go back, reset, and remember who you are. Because the last time the Rainbow Wahine lost 2 straight conference games, you know what happened? They won 14 games in a row. So hopefully they just do that again. And then we're talking about a national championship at the end of the year.
Then like how Coach Beeman said before, it's like they're going to play till April. That's all she's going to say. They're going to play till April, and that's what we are anticipating. But yeah, the tournament should be interesting. It's any women's game at this point, and I'm trying to think. I think it was Davis. I want to say it was Davis. Maybe the first time I went to the Big West tournament when it was still in Anaheim. I think Hawaii had lost to them in like the semi or probably a semifinal game. But Davis always sticks out in my head when it comes to the tournament because they always seem to be the team that's like,
They're the ones standing in the way.
Always. I know all the other teams are good. Obviously, Irvine's always good, but it's something about Davis, man, when it comes to the women's basketball matchup. All right, going to take a break. When we come back, we will switch it over to the men's basketball side, which it flip-flop on Saturday. We're like, what's going on?
Senior night mana.
What alternate universe was this weekend in University of Hawai'i sports where it's like men's volleyball didn't lose a set to a top-ranked UC Irvine, and then men's basketball comes out with a win against a very, very tough Davis squad, and then women had lost on the road to a team they should have won. It was wonky. Anyways, and then baseball, like, they won, and then they lost by a lot, and then they win by a lot, and
happy weekend.
Hey, we'll be back to talk some men's basketball on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brex on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. All right. So it's time to continue our recap of the weekend in University of Hawaii sports. Big win for the Rainbow Warrior basketball
Might be an
team.
understatement in terms of how massive that was for them.
I will admit, when I was talking to the guys on Saturday when we were out covering HPU baseball, it was starting to look a little daunting, and it was getting scary because what was the game? Was it Cal Poly beat Bakersfield, so that kind of jumbled up the standings a little bit
tighter at the bottom.
So I was starting to get worried. I'm like, oh no, that means like if Hawaii loses tonight, I was telling them like this could like even more so decrease our chances of making the postseason. But fortunately, we are not talking about that today because Hawaii came out with a big win, 78-70 over UC Davis on senior night. Woo! Tanner Christensen leading the way with 16 points. Tom Beatty putting up 12. And Akira Jacobs also scoring 12 off the bench. But Aaron Hunk and Clater looking phenomenal, like we were anticipating. I remember texting them. I mean, he played 31 minutes, put up, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. 8 points, 6 assists, and only had 1 turnover. Say it again, 6 assists.
You're missing a stat in there. He also had a career-high 7 rebounds. He flirted with a triple-double, guys. He's pretty good.
Yeah. But I remember texting you because this was kind of in the beginning of the first half, and then he came up with a huge defensive play, and okay, good, they have it. I was like, they better have his block on here. So he had like a block, like he actually got burned off the dribble, recovered, ended up blocking the shot. Well, not only blocking the shot, but preventing it from going out of bounds and then throwing it off like their player. I was like, wow, that was incredible. And then he had another play. They transitioned quickly, like it was almost bang, bang, bang right after another, threw it out. I think it was to Tom Beatty for that assist. And then not too long after that, Chuck like makes it 3 that's like nothing but net. I'm like, oh my, I was like texting our group chat like, this is, and I kept giving them like the play-by-play, like, did you just see Aaron? Oh, and then he just did this. Oh my gosh, he just did this. It was like, it was some beautiful basketball, and that's exactly what I texted them. I was like, beautiful basketball with the little happy teary-eyed emoji because it was very fun. It was a fun game to watch, and I know there's been a lot of criticism on the style, and as it should be, I get it. But this wasn't one of those games. They were just playing, and that's kind of what Coach E.G. had to say as well. And we will actually hear what head coach Eran Ganot had to say and his initial thoughts following that game.
We came out 7-1 and 14-5, I think, at one point. They made their punch, their move, and we responded each time. I mean, this isn't about not getting hit back. Every team's going to respond. They're a good team, good program, so I'm so pleased the way we bounced back and responded against a really good team, tough team that's had a week to prepare. Really proud of our guys and a lot of guys because everybody stepped up and we needed it. You know, last year what helped us is we played every game like, we were 2-6 and then we went 10-3. This year it didn't quite turn for us yet. We've had moments. We had 2 one-possession losses to Santa Barbara. We had the one-possession loss to Davis in the first game. And to be honest, you just got to hang in. And what I like to see recently this week was we had a lot of swag, a lot of confidence. And we talked about at times this team has maybe gotten sad because they want to please and now we're just letting it fly, let it rip, leave it all out there, and we have a chance to be really good with that, especially guys need to step up with Cody out. So he played a Bakersfield team that's played really well, and obviously a Northridge team that's been dominant. So we got to enjoy tonight. Have a good week of practice where we can get better. I thought we got better this week. Just showed flashes the other day against a good Riverside team. Finished it today, but it's going to be harder these last 2 games, and that's a good thing.
When you get to this point in the year, a lot of times we start to hear the phrase, freshmen are no longer freshmen.
But we started that a while ago, so we tried to.
Can you talk a little bit about the development you've seen from Aaron Hunkin-Clater? It felt like tonight, the first half especially, might have been his best half all season, and kind of the tone he set as a freshman. You talked about the other guys stepping up for the seniors on senior night.
Yeah, he's got a couple things that you can't really teach, and why we gravitate towards him. Confidence, a love for the game, and instincts. And now he's going through reps early in his career that will help him down the stretch this year and moving forward. I mean, he is one of our better defenders too. He takes that seriously, both sides of the ball. To have 8 points, 7 boards, 6 assists, 1 turnover under the circumstances, playing 32 minutes, pretty good freshman. And he knows we've talked that way. You said earlier, like you're a sophomore now, and at a really tough, the hardest position, most important position. So credit to him.
Talk about these seniors being unique. What can you say about them? Like you said, never grumbling, never pointing fingers, and never making excuses, and just being team players.
Yeah, well, we try to tell them, you help push our culture forward because of that. Sometimes I wanted them to get that message to them. We try to get ahead of senior night, the emotions. We do our kind of talks with them yesterday, each senior, and as a whole, there's things we can't have back. But don't think for a second, and you learn a lot about guys, how they lead during adversity. And you just learn, we're going to learn a lot from this. And I'm really proud that they have definitely helped push us forward in terms of the character piece on and off the court in the community. It's not like we're off a cliff. We're 15 and 14. We've had some tough stretches. We can't get them back. But we have a chance to do something about it still. And in terms of all the other stuff, people will remember them, and certainly the young guys on our team, for what they're about, and that's a great thing. There's a lot of times teams and people go through this, and you don't feel it in any way. We want it so bad for them because they certainly deserve it, and it hasn't happened for us. But for them to enjoy tonight and give us something to build for, and obviously we can still do something, and we have the potential to. But I can't thank them enough for what they've meant to me, my family, our program.
And that was UH men's basketball head coach Eran Ganat following their nice win on Saturday night for senior night. Again, shout out to all of the seniors that were honored as well. And yeah, like he said, I mean, it was just Hawaii came out to that hot start, and I was a little worried because we saw them come out to a really good start against Riverside last week and then kind of lost it in the second half. But they played all the way through. The last maybe 2 minutes got a little tense and a little scary because people wanted to miss their free throws.
Just wanted to make us sweat it a little bit.
They just wanted to. They're like, wait, you guys are getting too comfortable there, fans watching. We got to make you a little nervous. But all around, just a complete game by the Rainbow Warriors. And you love to see it, and you love to see them keep doing this because this is kind of like what Paul and I have been saying when it came to the talent that came to the program. We're like, oh, yeah, they totally have the talent there. And then just the finding their way, finding their rhythm. It was just like, why aren't they better? Aside from the turnovers, it's like, it was just, we're like, they have the talent. Why aren't they piecing it together? Now we were finally starting to see the team that I know Paul and I were kind of praising at the beginning of the season. Like, oh yeah, this team's going to be really good. And then maybe, hey, better late than never that they're turning it around.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more, but I thought this was Tanner Christensen looking like Tanner Christensen again. I thought Tom Beattie played great on both sides of the ball. I thought they played with a better pace throughout the night. I thought they rebounded well. I thought the turnovers were a bit less costly. Realistically speaking, my biggest gripe was with the free throw shooting at the end.
Yeah.
Because at the start of the second half, Aaron Hunkin-Clater picks up his third foul. It was bad job by him. Freshman mistake to put yourself in a situation like that as a point guard. And I say that as a former point guard, right? They didn't give up the lead. Hawaii never trailed against UC Davis. I don't know if people
That's
actually
crazy.
take that. They started out hot. They took the punch back. UC Davis tied it at 21 and never tied it again. Hawaii did a phenomenal job in this one in the biggest moment that they needed. And I mean, this was as must-win gets. They got that win and put themselves in a really nice spot to clinch a spot in the Big West tournament should they beat Cal State Bakersfield on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. And like we were mentioning earlier, Cal Poly had beat Bakersfield, so the standings got a little more wonky, but Hawaii won, so they are still at that 7th seed, and now they go on the road and play a Bakersfield that is winnable. CSUN, a little more of a tall task to ask, but they're essentially in charge of their own destiny right now, just like the Rainbow Wahine. Hawaii is pretty much win and you're in against Bakersfield at this point because they won that game against UC Davis.
I'm
so
pretty sure
feel
it is
a little
that,
bit better.
by the way.
Yeah, so because they won that game against Davis, now whether they'll be 7 or 8, we don't know.
Yeah,
but
that's a different story.
At that point, it doesn't really matter because they just got to make it in. So they got to win against Bakersfield, and then we can start relaxing a little bit until tournament time. All right, going to take a break. We'll be right back for hour number 2 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht and Michael Lescaro. And this is the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. Mahalo for tuning in on this Aloha Monday. Hope you guys had an amazing weekend. And shout out again to all of our watchers or our viewers on our YouTube channel as we are streaming live this and every Monday on our Hawaii Sports Radio Network YouTube channel. So thank you, and be sure to like and subscribe as well, and tell your friends, hey, we got a weekly Hawaii sports show that streams live on YouTube every single week, and usually it's mainly to recap the weekend, especially in Hawaii sports. With our Michael Lescaro being in here, we will get to some University of Hawai'i football coming up in this hour. As we know, the University of Hawaii wraps up their final week of spring ball, with Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m. being their spring ball festivities. So that'll be at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex again this Sunday at 4. Okay, we want to... Oh, also coming up this afternoon, make sure we got to tell you guys, tune in for HPU softball versus Azusa Pacific. We'll be out at Sand Island. That will be tomorrow and today broadcast. Kyle Galdera and Paul Brecht on the call. Again, both games against Azusa Pacific, just single headers. Today's game is at 1 o'clock p.m. And then single header today, or double header today, but only one game, the first game that we'll be broadcasting. And then tomorrow we'll bring you a game as well at 3 o'clock p.m. On HSRN and hawaiisportsradio.com. All right, we're going to take a little pause from some of our UH sports in just a second, just because we want to touch on some NFL news and happenings that went on over the weekend. The combine is going on. I know last week, Friday, I believe Paul and I kind of touched on Matthew Stafford being restructuring his contract and remaining. Nobody cares about that in this studio with the Los Angeles Rams. I think one of the bigger ones that came out over the weekend, I think Paul was the one that told us in the headsets on Saturday that Deebo Samuel, the 49ers trade Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders. I know our Kyle Galdero made a funny reference like, oh yeah, they can keep scoring points, but they can't stop anybody is kind of the Commanders' problems right now. But nonetheless, still looks like a solid team, but get that 5th round pick as well. So a lot of stuff happening in the NFL, including with the combine. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about Cam Ward and some teams being interested in potentially trading up and reaching out to the Titans on the possibility and entertaining if they're going to move up to get Cam Ward as the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming draft. As well, I know there was some stuff with Travis Hunter, and teams not exactly knowing where to put him. I've read a lot of stuff with they'll likely have him at corner, but then have him take maybe like 15 snaps at wide receiver, so still playing at both positions. So it's going to be interesting. Even though this draft class isn't really heavy necessarily in quarterback talent, I think it's still intriguing in its own way just because of the other things that are going on. But we'll start off it. We'll go back to last week, especially because we have Michael here, and I know he has some thoughts just about the significance of Los Angeles keeping on with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, well, that was a very long intro. But, for the beautiful people that miss my voice, I want to kind of tell them where I've been. So, my mom and my sister, they are out of the country, so I have to watch our dogs. There's I won't say the total amount of dogs we have in our house, but it's more than the amount of people in this room right now in the studio. So yeah, I've been a little bit busy. Sometimes you got to take them out in the morning. That's why I can't really be here at 8 a.m. But yeah, it's been good. Just got to watch their offspring, because they kind of multiplied, just like who had to watch some offspring on Saturday night. That's another topic. But yeah, I am stoked because speaking of dogs, we got a dog back in the quarterback room in Los Angeles in Matthew Stafford. He is been really great for the Rams in the playoffs. He's won 5 of 7 playoff games that he's played for the Rams, and in each playoff game that he's played in, even though there's some losses, he has outperformed the opposing quarterback in all of those matchups. And that list includes Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff. So he's done well in January and in February when he has a chance. So I'm stoked for him. I know a couple weeks ago I kind of flirted with the idea of maybe getting Aaron Rodgers, where I specifically asked Paul, what did you think about him late in the season? But Aaron Rodgers is not really a dog. He's more of a zebra, where it's kind of 50-50 what you're going to get out of him. And like a zebra, those officials, they march to the beat of their own drum, and that's kind of Aaron Rodgers. So, but yeah, there's a lot going on. But how's everybody doing? I know football's not your guys' thing because your guys' team suck, but let's get spicy here.
I was going to say, what are we talking about here? Football's not our thing. Excuse me? People hear a lot about our team, so I wanted to make sure we touch on another team that I know is really popular in Hawaii.
I was going to say, man,
he's trying to throw it at, I was like, he's throwing it at us when I try to give more plug to other teams besides the Bears and the Jets, because that's what I'm going to do right now, so be careful what you wish for. There you go. We talked about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers potentially could be going over to the New York Giants, so from one New York team to the other one. But the New York team that we care about a little bit more in this studio anyways, with the New York Jets, they were one of the teams that I saw pop up, and it was actually like another tweet about something else that had to deal with a reporter losing access because they reported too early on the Jets' interest in Cam Ward, and I was like, oh. Well, one, I was like, oh, that sucks that they lost their status for just reporting the news and doing their insider job. And I was like, oh, wait, the Jets interested in moving up to take Cam Ward. So kind of it goes back to, what was it, like 2-3 weeks ago already, where we were looking at the odds on BetMGM in terms of the number 1 overall draft pick. And although we were talking about another player being the potential draft pick, the odds were listing Cam Ward as the favorite to go number 1 overall. So it could be more and more of that possibility, but now we're starting to see the actual substance of these rumors surface, where what teams could be potentially interested in trading up to take Cam Ward. And yeah, one of the surprising ones I saw, again, the New York Jets.
Yeah. It was also, I will say this, to be fair, I do think that reporter had the right information and got it from the wrong people, because he added on like some prediction of what a trade could look like. The Jets' interest is a little more preliminary, which is smart by Darren Muji and this new regime in general. Cam Ward, interestingly enough, kind of made a pitch to be a New York Jet while at the NFL Draft Combine. Not necessarily outwardly being like, I want to be a Jet, but when asked about them, talked a little bit about how they have good pieces in place already, and how they're not as far away as people may think they are. That's a lot of pandering to the fan base over here, I know, but I also really like Cam Ward in general, and this is something that I feel strongly about. If you believe a quarterback is your guy, if you believe that is a can't miss, he is going to be the franchise guy, then you go and you make that move, you take him. If you have any, and I mean any, reservations about that, you do not make that move, especially moving up from 7 to 1. It is a large package that will end up being needed to move. I mean, your Bears saw exactly how that package can look like, right? Where they got a DJ Moore plus some first round picks. I don't think the Jets have interest in giving up a package like that. Should the package come down a little bit, because this draft, the value of it at the top especially, maybe not exactly what you'd want it to be. If it comes down, I'd expect maybe a Jets all-in move there, but it would certainly be quite the swing for this brand new regime. But Cam Ward is the one guy who I feel strongly about in this class. If any of them are going to hit right away of that first round, like I don't love Jackson Dart. I thought he had a nice performance at the NFL Draft Combine, but I didn't think it was much more than that. Jalen Milroe, even Shedeur Sanders. How can I put this? I think Shedeur is going to be good. I think he is a good quarterback. I don't think he would be successful in New York, and more specifically, I don't think he would be successful with the New York Jets. I think the Deion Sanders of it all, I think the Sanders family name, I don't think that would mesh well with what has been a circus in New York for the last 15 years. I think they're looking for a little more calm, and not that Cam Ward is somebody who's this quiet, not so outspoken individual, but I do think of the two, he would probably be better for the Jets situation. In all, I think it's probably just a little bit more of rumors coming out of the combine than anything else at this point.
Now, the Titans do still hold the number 1 overall pick, and some of the prospects that they'll host, which was tweeted out by Ian Rappaport, they will host quarterback Cam Ward, also edge rusher Abdul Carter out of Penn State. That's kind of the one that most of the big boards and drafts have going number 1 overall. But again, the odds market does not indicate that. Shedeur Sanders also visits with the Titans, and Travis Hunter. So those are some of the top prospects that the Tennessee Titans will have. And as I mentioned, looking at the odds right now as it stands for the 2025 NFL Draft, the first overall pick, Cam Ward, the minus 225 favorite, and Abdul Carter at plus 180 to go number 1 overall. And then there's a significant drop off to Travis Hunter at 11-1 and Shedeur Sanders at 15-1. So that's kind of as we kind of hit the final month and a half down the stretch before the NFL Draft, it looks like Cam Ward and Abdul Carter.
I mean, to me, if you have the number 1 pick, you got to take Travis Hunter. He's probably the best prospect in this draft. And there's a lot of talk about this whole you can't play both sides of the ball and whatnot. And that may be true. But here's the thing, like what he accomplished in college, that is like generational talent, because people, I mean, there's a genuine conversation like who deserved the Heisman between Genty and Dylan Gabriel. But being able to play both sides of the ball like that, one thing that people don't realize is that, you know, in football, most people play one side of the ball, but in basketball and like soccer, like it's constantly free flowing where you have to have that cardio, you have to have that stamina to play on offense and play on defense, because the play's just not going to stop after the ball's dropped, right? And Travis Hunter gives you that ability. You know that you can trust in this guy late in the fourth quarter because he has the cardio, he has the stamina, and he has the abilities to make plays. Like if you see him on the field on offense, as a defense, opposing defense, you're going to pay attention to him because it's like, well, if he's in the game, they're going to want to get him the ball. But that also opens up things on the back end, also opens up things for the secondary options. Also, it just frees up things. So to me, I don't like any of the quarterbacks in this draft class to take with the number 1 pick. But you know what I mean? We saw last year, right? We saw the run-on quarterbacks in that first round. So sometimes in these drafts, you just got to take the best player available. And, kind of going back to the Rams, because Kuz said I was going to, that's how we got Jared Verse at pick, I think, 19. And he was the rookie defensive player of the year. So you take the best player available. There are going to be good quarterbacks. I mean, look at last year's draft, right? I think 6 quarterbacks got drafted in the first round. One of those guys is not going to work out for their team, and you might want to take a chance on them later down in the season. Mm-hmm. For the Jets, you have a new regime. There is no pressure on them. I mean, great. Maybe if you're the Patriots or you're another coach, but even with the Patriots, right? I think they kind of got rid of Gerard Mayo because they knew they could get their guy. So yeah, I would take the best player available. This is one thing that this past postseason has taught us is that if teams that are great in the NFL, they're great because other teams make mistakes. And that's how the Philadelphia Eagles, they got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Carter, and Cooper DeJean off
because other people overthought it.
Well, no, because the Colts wanted Carson Wentz, and they got a haul. And from the Carson Wentz trade, they were able to get those 4 players. I mean, those are the 4 major players, but they got more players. So you have to take advantage of other teams making mistakes. So for Paul, for his sake, I hope the Jets don't make that mistake.
I also agree there. I'm glad you bring up Travis Hunter. I know we got to go to break quick, but I do want to hit on this real fast. Travis Hunter, I think, is the most interesting player to see where he ends up in the draft, because I don't disagree with you at all when it comes to, I mean, this is a guy who can be your Shohei Ohtani of football, right? He can play both sides of the ball, and he had a funny quote about how he thinks what he does is more difficult, and it created this whole firestorm on social media. But, what is his final place? Where does he end up getting drafted, and what is that plan looking like? Is it a team thinking that he is this generational corner with ball skills, with the ability to cover a number 1 wide receiver, and then still give you wide receiver snaps? Do they just see him on one side of the ball? Do they see him as a number one receiver? All of those things are worth taking in the top 5. But where does he go? Does he go number 1 overall? Do the Browns end up falling in love with him? I mean, does he end up in New England and create this awesome pairing with Christian Gonzalez there and give Drake May a number 1 option at wide receiver as well? I'm really interested to see where he goes more than literally anybody else in that first round.
Yeah, and that's where I go back to my other point, where even though it's not a quarterback-heavy draft class, it's probably the most intriguing of the drafts so far because of just Travis Hunter and just where people will land. Because I agree with you, Michael. Like, sometimes you got to take the best player available, and that's either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. And that's why where the odds market stands is significant, because somewhere the inkling is that a team will trade
wants
up.
Cam Ward.
Yeah, somebody wants Cam Ward. Somebody wants him as their quarterback, and I don't think it's the Tennessee Titans. So I think if you're Tennessee, you would take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. But because Cam Ward has been the favorite for the last few weeks from when we first checked. Again, a significant favorite at minus 225 and Abdul Carter at plus 180. You're just finding out which team that's going to be that'll draft him.
I think the odds maker feel that way because the teams that have the ability to draft or take that number 1 pick, they're not really great franchises that are run, right? The Tennessee Titans, they gave up A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry for basically nothing. The Jets, they haven't made the playoffs since Paul's been in grade school?
Something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, and the Browns, they gave Deshaun Watson that dumb contract.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, I paused.
I understand.
So yeah, that's why because there's just not really good franchises at the top of this draft. So if they're the type to make the mistake and draft Cam Ward at number 1.
All right. Going to take a break. When we come back, we will change it up to the other football and get you some University of Hawai'i football talk, as Michael's been able to go out to a couple of practices in this spring. So we'll have him share some of his takeaways and what he's noticed. Be sure to text us if you have any questions for Michael when it comes to UH football at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. Or if you're watching on the live stream, you can chime in with your questions again for UH football for our Michael Lescaro. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Fun fact. Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
It's Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lescaro on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. All right, I want to get right into some University of Hawai'i football conversation as the Rainbow Warriors wrap up the spring as we're going on right now this week. And then Sunday, 4 o'clock p.m. at the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex, they will have their spring festivities if you guys want to go out there and check out this team. But Michael has been out to a couple of practices, so I will kick it over to you, my friend, and just share with all the beautiful people on some of your takeaways that you have noticed with the practices that you were able to go out, and some of the coaches and maybe other media members that you were able to kind of chat with as well.
Yeah, this team is great. Definitely go out to watch them this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. because you're gonna get a chance to have a very competitive game. I think whoever's quarterbacking on the other team, it's gonna be fun. One biggest takeaway I take from watching practice is that this team wants to play from a lead. They have a great defense, and their defensive ends, their outs, their edge rushers. That is a stacked position, especially with the addition of Kale Akana out of Utah and potentially Elijah Robinson coming back because you also have Lester Langofuana in the mix. You have Tariq Jones still back there, as well as Jackie Johnson, who I think was leading the team in sacks for a good amount of last year. So I ran into Coach Pooh Robinson in the hallways while I was, after practice, and we kind of just were chatting a bit. It's like, man, if this team can get a lead, sacks will get crazy because especially if it's third and long, you could put 4 defensive ends out there. You put 2 in the inside, that can go off, and. With that being said, I think the offense is trying to get to that point where, hey, maybe we don't have to go pass because we're trailing by 2 scores all too much. We need to know how to shorten the game, and I think with Coach Anthony Arsenault being the OC, and taking his background from Nevada, as well as Timmy Chang's background from Nevada. In fact, maybe even half the coaching staff has background with Nevada, even the non-coaches, right? Like in Matt Chon. They're definitely putting in the tight end. I'm seeing some formational stuff where I know you guys were in Hilo watching the basketball teams, but they've been bringing some of the formations and plays that we saw when they had that really motivational kind of season turning around win against Nevada. And I think that week I was like, hey, Timmy, I will extend Timmy now because he's really. I don't know if that I may have deleted that tweet on accident after the Utah State game, but this team can adjust, right? We have some motion, some pre-snap motion. When Michael was in studio with us, I asked him about having 2 backs back there, and. So yeah, that's still gonna be in the playbook because last year I think in the fall when training camp opened up, I thought it was a bit weird when they said, "Oh, we're gonna get rid of the tight end. We're just gonna go to the traditional 4 wide," and that's a very old school form of the run and shoot, which a lot of teams with tape know how to defend, and it's only towards the end of the middle half of the season it's like, hey, we gotta try something different. And one thing I do like about the team is that they're making an effort to run the football or to install a run game as well as get rid of the football quick. And I mean, no knock on our short kings, right? But Micah Alejado is not the same size as Braden Shager, which means and he's also going to be the future, so you don't want him to be taking the same kind of shots that Braden Shager is taking. And definitely last year, the coaching staff and the year before, they realized, hey, if we're going to take all those hits, we might as well utilize you as a runner, and that's where Braden Shager found success. But for Micah Alejado, we don't want him taking those shots like that. So
I kind of want. Sorry to stop you. I kind of want to emphasize that a little bit because, and I was thinking to ask you that, but you kind of like put the perfect segue there as we're talking about it because yes, you're right. Like Micah is a little more undersized, and I agree with you. We still love our short kings, but he is undersized. Let's be realistic here when it comes to this Division I football level that they play at, but also you want to get the run game going. In order to do both of those things, protect Micah, get the run game going, kind of need to have a really good offensive line, we've lost some guys and everything like that. So kind of what is it looking like right now? And if either of you guys can remember if we have any more guys coming in to shore up the offensive line, because that's going to be really important, right? You need the line to open up some pukas to really get this run game going. And fortunately, though, Micah is a very, very smart quarterback, so I don't fear as much for him when it comes to knowing when to get rid of the football. I think he is very well aware that he can't take hits, so he's just like naturally is aware of his surroundings and will get rid of it when he needs to. We kind of saw that last season, but if you can share a little bit more of maybe what you've noticed with the offensive line, and if either of you guys can recall if we have some talent coming in for that position.
Offensive line, I think we're going to be okay. I mean, there was not really any names in transfer portal coming in, but we have a solid group that's coming back, right? I mean, we lost a guy in kind of the camera at the left tackle spot, but even then, I think he did get an honorable mention or something like that, or he had team MVP, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But Dean Brisky is pretty much going to be the guy, I think, at left tackle. He's 6'5" and 290. I bring up Dean Brisky and the Nevada game because in the Nevada game, well, currently he's wearing a jersey number 52, but in the Nevada game, he was wearing jersey number 34 because they developed special run packages with him as an H-back or as a tight end in the back or in the backfield. So he has the brains and he has the agility to be even in that role because, hey, if you're going to be an eligible receiver in that package, you're going to need that. So at 6'5", 290, he's the guy. I think Sergio Muosau is still going to be the starting. He's kind of at the starting center spot. I know I think going back to the Nevada game again, he lost his.
It's officially Michael's favorite game from last season. In case nobody noticed that, we can tell. And of course, it's the game when Paul and I were not here because we were covering basketball. But yeah.
Ethan Spencer got the start at center, so it was kind of Sergio again. He had that rough game against Sam Houston. We had the penalties, but he did kind of get back in the rotation later in the season. So I like that from a player where, hey, I lost my starting spot. I'm not just going to sit around. I'm still going to compete and get up there. So he's looking to be there. Right now, our two starting guards in Kuao Pehopa and Zen Sotelo, they're kind of nursing injuries. So we're able to see Judah Kai'io. He got some run before they redshirted him. And I believe the other guard right now is Micah Maretarangi. He's out of Kahuku, a transfer from Virginia, I think a year or two ago. So they're getting some valuable reps, but Kuao and Zen, they're going to be rock solid when we get them back in the offensive line. And then also you have number 70, that is James Milovale at the right tackle, where he kind of came in for Luke Felix Fualau after that UCLA game, and I thought he was really phenomenal. So offensive line, I'm not really too worried about. Yeah,
that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm happy that there is going to be some returners this year. Like Michael mentions, the interior returning is encouraging for me. I like a lot of the young guys who are on this team as well. That was something that I talked about behind the scenes with you guys, that I like the size that the freshmen had in last year's class, and obviously big majority of them taking a red shirt, getting an opportunity to adjust their bodies and adjust the game speed of college football. I'm curious to see what the battle is like in camp. I'm curious to see who sticks those jobs, and like Michael said, with experience on the interior with Sergio Muosau, Zen Sotelo. I like those guys a lot, right? They're enforcers. They're former defensive linemen who will set the tone, the physicality for you. And also, if somebody hits Micah Alihado late, I think those two are going to be right there next to him and ready to have his back as well, which I always find to be really important with the offensive line. You need them to be your enforcers. I think Hawaii has plenty of those on the line as well. Only thing I ever am concerned about, Hawaii typically is undersized on the offensive line. So I hope that it's not necessarily the case this year. I love Dean Brisky. I think he's a guy who is incredibly athletic and allows you to do some really fun things in both the run and pass game. Curious to see his development as it goes through the spring, the summer, and as we go into the fall.
I do want to highlight a couple of DBs. Partially, fittingly, they also have jersey number changes. So if you're there on Sunday and you're like, who is that guy, because there is, last year Cam Stone wore number 4. There is a number 4 jersey this year, and that's Elijah Palmer. I think this is he's kind of always decreased his jersey number. I think he was in the 20s his freshman year, then he was number 9 last year, and his number 4. He is a guy we talk about short kings. He's not the biggest DB out there, but his arms are massive this year. I've been told by members of the strength and conditioning staff that he is a very self-starter, so that's good to see. Also, Kilinahe Mendiolo Jensen, who came over from UNLV last year, is not wearing 29. He's wearing number 8. And I think he's kind of improved because he's getting more reps as a box safety or more closer to the line of scrimmage. I know last year some fans on Twitter were kind of, because he did kind of have some rough patches where he missed some tackles, but I think he's kind of improved in that area. And if you look on Twitter, it's like we did need to get number 29 out of there in the Washington State game, but he's back. He's wearing number 8, and number 6 this year is going to be DeLeon Freeman. He wore 26 last year, and he might be getting some reps in the inside nickelback spot. So that's kind of good to see. He was a redshirt freshman last year, so he's definitely a name I like. But I also want to shout out Verdell Edwards. He looks really great. I know we were looking forward to see him last year. Injuries kept him out, but I think he's like 6'2", 215. He is a very physical corner, and that's something you need, especially when they got a tackle on the perimeter.
I love it. I think my thing I'm looking forward to this Sunday is the Micah missiles to the receivers, because if there's one position group that there's a lot of talent there, it would be that. So I think that's probably what I'm looking forward to the most on Sunday, is on top of all the little things that we mentioned. But I know a lot of fans, especially, like, they want to see that, right? They want to see it more consistently. I know we got the Shager bombs every once in a while throughout Braden Shager's tenure here, but from what we saw with Micah against New Mexico, like, the future looks bright, and they got some talent that, thought they were going to leave, and then they came back, and then you had some transfers that came in. So I think Sunday is going to be a lot of fun when it comes to just the receiving core and having Micah Alihado back there. And I'm actually pretty excited to see Luke Weaver as well and see what he can do in terms of being a significant backup or potentially even a significant competitor when it comes to that starting job as well. Again, I still believe that it's Micah's job to lose at this point, but it's nice to know and see what the backup will look like in Luke Weaver. All right, going to take a break. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. Let's wake up in the den. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht and Michael Lescaro. That's one of our songs. Like, you can't I can't start the show until like the beat drops for that song. It's like it's just the perfectly timed
You'll
thing.
notice I slowed down my counting, and over here
You're like,
I'm
wait
like,
a minute.
I'm like sitting here. I'm like,
Just kidding. This is the one that we have to do it like as the beat drops. Like you can't do it any other way with our song.
Missing the beat drop on that one. That's for sure.
100%. Thank you for tuning in to the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. Coming up this afternoon, we have HPU Sharks softball hosting Azusa Pacific out at Sand Island. 1 o'clock p.m. Is game time. Kyle Galdera and Paul Brecht with the call. We'll also have that matchup for you guys tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. So be sure you guys tune into that. You can listen to Saturday's game. It was a sad game for HPU baseball, able to storm back from being down 11-4 and then tied it up, went to extras, and then Biola scored a run in the 10th. And the Sharks couldn't answer, but it was still a fun and exciting game. So if you missed it, you can listen to it on demand, or you can listen to the HPU Sharks games from last week Thursday that resulted in wins against Chaminade. So there's a lot. Go to hawaiisportsradio.com also to see some of the recaps and Michael's photos and all of that stuff. So, woo. Like a lot of things I got to tell the beautiful people about. You guys can always text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481. We did get a text. This was earlier in like the first hour though, and kind of like when the show just started. Someone texting in actually about Craig has said Craig Angeles is a finalist for the AD job at BYU. He's good enough for BYU, but not good enough for Hawaii. Sad. Actually, it was so funny because I won't elaborate too much about this because you guys have already heard all of our thoughts about that entire situation, and we will reserve most of it until we see this new AD search go through. But when the BYU AD job opened up, my immediate thought was like, we're going to lose Craig to BYU because he's the forward thinker. He's a BYU guy. He's a student athlete first guy. And I know some of the other, I guess, early favorites, for lack of a better term, at BYU. One of the names, I won't name it specifically, but one of the names that seemed to be a favorite and a staple there at BYU is apparently just not a very good. I don't want to say he's not a good person, but he's a little more brash than most people and doesn't really fit into the BYU way. I guess, but even though he is Mormon, but it just, I don't know, from what I've been told and stuff. So, potentially Craig Angeles. We'll see though. We'll follow it. Where is that search committee, by the way?
It's in the works. Come on, guys. It's in the works. It's
in the works.
Yeah. For Craig and BYU's, sometimes things happen for a reason, and if he ends up going to a more healthier situation, I think he's closer to family and kids at BYU. Then shout out Craig, and also shout out Craig for using my photo on his LinkedIn. So whatever future job Craig you get, I will
Do you want royalties?
So funny. I never noticed that. That's awesome. I gotta go look up his link. I don't even know if I'm connect. I don't think I'm connected with Craig. I never go on my LinkedIn, so we'll see. That's so funny. That's gonna make me need to and want to connect with Craig Angeles now because of that.
Yeah, that's a good point by Michael though, because yes, of course, sending the best to Craig Angeles and his family, obviously throughout that whole situation was very, very stressful, I'm sure. So. I'm glad that he is at least getting the consideration that we feel that he does deserve over there. If it does end up being that he's there, that would suck, but that's totally fine. Whatever. Hoping for the best for him and hoping, like you mentioned, Koo, that this search committee is being put together and, like Michael said, they're on the way.
There's a committee and a firm, so just want to make sure that those are two different parties.
Yeah, I was referring to the firm because they had the search that went on and ended on February 14th. So waiting for the announcement on who the official firm is, whether it be from here or the continent. And I want to make sure we elaborate also on what Paul said, where if Craig goes to BYU, that would suck. Mainly because it would mean that our little dash of hope that we have that he could potentially reapply and come back to the University of Hawaii would obviously be done. But on the flip side, for Craig and his family, it would be the best scenario in the world. So
I also just meant it because screw BYU, we're Hawaii fans.
Exactly. They would get our guy, and then it'd be
no
dang
further
it.
than just that.
But again, I guess good scenario for him. But
we could have some more BYU versus Hawaii matchups.
Fair, I guess.
Well, I think we're already planning that for volleyball. But anyways, Moving on. All right. Earlier, we were talking about the men's basketball win against UC Davis, 78-70 on Saturday. Huge win for the Rainbow Warriors. And now, essentially, if they win on Thursday, then they are in to the Big West Conference tournament. So controlling their own destiny ultimately, because UC Davis was kind of the one that, if they lost, which could have gone either way, we didn't have the highest hopes considering how things have gone, but they were able to prove that they could continue what we saw against Riverside on Thursday and then have it on Saturday. And if they continue this style of play and pushing the pace, we could be looking at finally the turnaround that I know Positive Paul was like holding out hope for. He's like, they're going to turn this around.
I wasn't going to say that they were dead until I thought they were dead. And they're not dead. The turnaround came
a little later than it did last year. So hopefully this will be better and they'll win the stretch of games and get into the tournament. But more importantly, on Saturday, they honored quite a few seniors. You had Ryan Rapp, who is one of the longest tenured senior that was celebrated that night. Yidis Namiksha, Tanner Christensen, Marcus Green, and Jerome Palm. By the way, shout out to Jerome Palm, because I know you had photos on our Instagram and you tag all of them. Jerome Palm actually said mahalo in the DMs. He's like, mahalo with the shaka. And I'm like, all right, Jerome,
King.
I don't care what your teammates say about you. Just kidding.
No, they all love Rome.
Teammates, it's more of the fans that were.
No, I was using that as a joke. You know how people are like, if I were to have a private conversation with Paul, I was like, I don't care what Michael says about you. You're pretty cool. That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
I don't care what Alan says about you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant by that. Where it's like, I don't care what your teammate, because his teammates don't say anything about it.
Everybody loves Rome.
That was the joke, Michael. My sarcasm came off like Michael's, where you couldn't tell that it was a joke.
I'm very, very happy in terms of them getting this win. More for anyone else than Ryan Rapp, because that is somebody who has been a good soldier for the Rainbow Warriors throughout this really tough season. He has experienced a really tough college career. You want to talk about someone fighting through adversity and injuries. And it feels like every year he enters with one that he's fighting off, and for his teammates to step up in a way that they did and make sure that he got the night that he deserved there. He got a huge ovation from the fans as well after the game. And he talked a little bit about how he was able to keep it together for the most part.
Yep, family in town from Australia, and wanted to make sure we shared that with you before today's show ends, that the longest tenured senior in this men's basketball class, Ryan Rapp, and here is what he had to say. And it actually starts with a question by our Paul Brecht, what Ryan Rapp had to say following Saturday night's win.
All right, we talked to you earlier in the week. You said you didn't want to think about the emotions of senior night till the senior night was here.
Yep.
What are the emotions now that you've gone through a hard-fought win?
Honestly, speechless. I'm actually really proud of myself. I didn't cry. I was all the guys were like, please don't cry, Rapp, and I think I've done a really good job of that. But no, like you said, getting to this moment, it's just a surreal moment for me, honestly. It's been 6 long years. Hard work does pay off in the end, especially if you really want it as bad as I really wanted it. And I've got the best teammates in the world, and we still got an unwritten story to go. We still got 2 more games, so it's good to get a win. It's a great feeling to get a win again. It's been a while, but like I said, I think this situation we're in right now, this adversity is going to make us stronger, and I'm just looking forward to see what this story will unfold for us, and looking forward to heading to the mainland and try and make some noise. So.
How big did tonight feel? You talked about the adversity a little bit of this season. Before you head on the road, you snap a 3-game losing streak and kind of play to your guys' potential tonight. How big was tonight for your confidence?
It was huge, especially because we're playing to go to Vegas still. We're currently 8th or 7th right now. Nothing is given in this league. You got to earn what you get, and Coach talks about that all the time. Nothing comes easy in life, and if you want something, you got to go get it. So I'm just excited to see how we translate this game to the mainland. Like I said, I still think we have a story to tell. I think we can shock some people, and it just comes down to belief in the locker room and within our teammates. So I'm excited.
Brian, is it a sign of the times in college basketball where you didn't start here, you came in from Wazoo, right? Spent a few years here, but you are by far the most Hawaii experienced guy among this group of guys.
For sure. I mean, I visited here a lot of times when I was younger, but at that point I didn't really know what the Hawaiian experience was really like. I was too young, but it was probably the best thing I've ever done, making that transfer to here. Just the sense of community, the family, just how all these Rainbow fans have embraced me as a family, especially being away from home. I can't show enough appreciation for what they've done. Like I said, our story's still going. We got to keep focusing on the next 2 games. We're going to celebrate tonight, enjoy it with my teammates, and then we'll go from there. Just the amount of support that come out, I don't think anyone else in the country does a senior night like this, and in my opinion, it is the best senior night in all of college basketball, if you ask me. Just the fact that we have it after the game instead of before the game, and people stick around, like all these kids, all the fans stick around to support us. Like I said, I'm trying to be a role model for the future generations, and I appreciate, because I used to be one of them too, looking up to all the older guys. So it's a surreal moment, and I can't thank the community enough.
And we can't thank you enough, Mr. Ryan Rapp, the longest tenured senior that we had in this men's basketball class. Again, he's been here for the last few years, transferred over from Washington State, and the rest of the guys are just 1 season only. But Ryan, no, he's just worked so hard, and you could tell this past year he's done really, really well. And that's why I would get really annoyed where some people, like, I understand people's frustration and they like the recruiting, but I don't like, and I get really annoyed, especially during the season, when people talk about like, oh, we should have this guy or we should have that guy, and they don't at least give the equal amount of time just appreciating the guys that do come here and like do put all of their blood, sweat, and tears into this program. And Ryan Rapp is like just a prime example. He's always just so kind and such a good person.
Sorry, I got a spam call.
I was like, what is that? Like interact with and everything like that. So I just wanted to make sure we give him, and we appreciate all the seniors, but because he's been here the longest, it's like we had to give him a little extra there for Ryan Rapp. And I know his family was in town as well, all the way from Australia. All right. Or actually, it was funny because I think, I know his sister plays somewhere on the continent, and I think they like, one parent was here. I think the dad was here on Thursday, and then the mom was watching the sister play, and then they like swapped or something. Yeah, it was kind of,
That's fun.
So anyways, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back to close things out on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, closing out hour number 2 in the show here on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani, along with Paul Brackton, Michael Lescaro. Hope you guys have had a fabulous Monday morning so far and are ready to take on the week with all of us, because it is quite a busy week. As I mentioned, this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon we'll be bringing you live play-by-play coverage of HPU softball versus Azusa Pacific. Today's game at 1 o'clock and tomorrow's game at 3. And then there's volleyball this week. And then throughout the week, we have women's basketball, senior night on Saturday. I could possibly be flying out for a quickie for track and field. That's the intra-squad meet. Finally got some of the details for that. And then Sunday is football, spring event. And there's a lot of stuff, though. And, of course, but more importantly, both basketball teams wrapping up the regular season.
Yeah, I do want to give some credit to coach the coaching staff for because I know the fans haven't been the most pleased with the current coaching staff and Coach Aran Ganat, and with that being said, sometimes as a photographer, a media person, you want to be able to get some specific photos that might, if Paul needs to write some breaking news. But one thing, and I do want to give credit to his coaching staff, because even during that second half, I was like, why is all these coaches standing up? I was texting a group chat, right? It's like, just let them play. And in that last 2 minutes when they weren't making free throws, there was a moment where I think Iran just sat down, and once he sat down, they started making free throws. And to me, that showed that, hey, we don't need to like micromanage everything. We're just gonna let it come. We have the lead. We haven't given up the lead in the entire second half. And like Paul made a good point in the first hour. Hey, they never trailed, right? There was always that 5 to 6 point cushion that, hey, the other team would come back, but Hawaii would kind of push that lead back to 9. So that was one thing that we were talking about, a lack of consistency. That was one thing we saw from this team. And to me, when Iran sat down, that kind of showed, hey, I can't do anything. It's you guys on the floor. And Iran kind of made mention of that in his post-game avail, where he said, we're kind of had a great week of practice. We're kind of just letting it loose, letting them flow. And that's, I think, what is something that's going to help this team and potentially his job, because there's only so much you can do as a coach. It's the 5 players on the court that needs to do it. And I just want to say, for those, I think maybe we might be turning a corner.
Hopefully. That's the hope that we were holding out for. But just real quick, I guess as we're wrapping it up, something that Ryan said about senior night, and I guess this is a question for Paul, because Paul's from the continent, because Ryan had said something about, like, I mean, I know Ryan's from Australia, but he had said, oh, no one does senior night like Hawaii. And he mentioned, like, well, part of it is we celebrate it after the game instead of before the game here. And I'm like, doesn't everybody celebrate it after the game? So is that like not a thing? Like, is it not celebrated after the game, or is it just maybe Australia? Okay, because I thought that was interesting where he said that. I'm like, is that different other places? I feel like that should be a common thing.
To be fair, we just had HPU senior night, and it was the women who went after their game, but the men go before theirs, right? So I don't know. I got Michael giggling up a storm over here.
No, yeah, I mean, we had it with HPU.
He's like giggling, and I was like, oh, is he going to say? And
no,
it's
like because HPU men's had it before, and I thought they were going to have it before because they were expecting a loss, but they came back and won that game. So, yeah, I mean,
it is. I do think it is something like that, though, where I don't know if everybody has the confidence that Hawaii has to win on senior night, because I don't know how many senior nights don't end up well. There have been some, so I shouldn't sit here and say it never happens, but Hawaii, it goes to the Manoa Magic a little bit more and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. In my experience, like, my senior nights were always after the games, but that's because I always knew that we were going to win. So
well, see, I feel like even at UH, it's just always after, just because the ceremony is so long. Like, you don't even. Yeah, I guess I can understand where other schools, like, you're not anticipating to win and you don't want to celebrate as much, but I'm just like, but it feels weird because in Hawaii you have to go around. Everyone wants to give you
nobody
the lei
does that. I will
after,
say that.
Well,
we definitely don't do that.
You guys don't give a bunch of lei out?
No,
Paul?
we don't even give kudos afterwards.
Like even with HPU, they still gave leis after the game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's just Hawaii style. And Paul mentioned senior night and Manoa Magic. It is true because for the football team, I don't know if I said this on air or said total coup, but the football team has not lost a senior game since the Rolovich era. So they've been undefeated in senior night games since Rolo was the head coach.
Just a little extra magic.
So
this is bad. Michael's the jinx.
I'm not the jinx. I'm just saying it's almost a guaranteed win that we're gonna win senior night. Because here's the thing. Because the vibe, the fans. That was the most fans I've seen at men's basketball all season. Other than North Carolina, but the fans definitely helped urge this team on. And when you have those fans, these players, they end up playing when they see all those fans, and then the relative senior night. It's no longer about the program. It's about the people and the state, and that just gives them extra superpowers.
There we go. Before we get out of here, we got about a minute left. You guys might see this box. We got this from a listener. It's my dad. My dad sent in something for us. I told him I'd do it on camera, so I'm trying to do it fast here.
No, you should have warned me. Then I would have added significant time. You
No,
did not
we're
tell me we're
okay.
going to do this.
No, that's okay. But wow, they're packed up really, really well.
Let me do the play-by-play. Paul is trying to open up the, I guess, the bubble wrap that it has, and looking at the. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. So for everybody listening, I'll talk about it while Paul is showing it on the camera. It is our Wake Up in the Den, kind of like our YouTube thumb that we use, and it's on a mug. And Dad put it on, a mug on, and our logo with the microphone. And shout
on
out.
both sides. So there's one for each of us. Koo always has her coffee in the morning. I've always got my Celsius, and we got to get out of here for today. But thanks, Dad.
Thanks to Papa
Thank you,
Brett.
Mr. Brett.
All right, we got to get out of here.
I
For
need some of your
Paul
ice cream.
and Michael, I'm Kool-Aid. Bye.
Home of the Los Angeles Clippers, KGU AM K236CR.